my name is Jane Walkley, and today at the Reach Cold Weather Shelter, I'm going to go over all things front desk. Thank you in advance for your interest in volunteering at the shelter, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask your coordinator or the shelter staff that will be here with you that evening. As you know, you are the first point of contact for most residents who come to the shelter. We do ask that you arrive between 6 and 6:30 and familiarize yourself with the front desk. You do want to make sure that you sign the volunteer sign-in sheet. If your coordinator hasn't provided one of those for you, they are available in the volunteer sign-in book. So you want to review the responsibilities of the front desk and the guidelines of what is expected for the position at the front desk, and that card is available right here. If you have any questions, again, please ask. You want to familiarize yourself with this area. Make sure that you do have some paper, an ink pen, the official clock. You want to familiarize yourself with that, the door button for opening the door, and the telephone. Before 7 o'clock, the only folks that are allowed to come in are obviously your volunteers and any folks that might be on the cleaning team. That list would be provided, is usually hanging here at the desk, that your coordinator or the shelter staff will have here for you. Those are the only folks who are to come in before 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, you can let the residents in by buzzing the door buzzer that is here under the desk and picking up the phone handle. As they come through the door, you will usually have two folks here that are filling these positions. The person who is here as the volunteer will ask the person if they have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol. It is extremely important to ask those three questions very clearly and get a response, because once they get over to our search table, there can be consequences. So you will ask, do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol? And then if they do hand you alcohol, you will give that to the coordinator or the staff. Obviously, if they hand you a weapon, you are going to alert the coordinator or the shelter staff. If they hand you drugs, that would be the same. Some folks do carry knives with them or scissors for their work, so those would go in an envelope in this bottom drawer. You would put their name on the envelope and put it back here for the overnight staff. At that point, after you ask the three questions, do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol, you also ask the residents if they have a cell phone that you would like them to turn it off or at least put it on silent. You will also be asking them for their photo ID. Once you confirm that the person on the photo ID is who is standing before you, you can hand that card off to the volunteer who is sitting here, because they will be recording on the Cold Weather Shelter sign-in log their last name, their first name, if they do indeed have a photo ID, and if they are a new resident. You will also be asking in this position if the resident needs a wake-up call, and you will be documenting that in the first column. At that time, if they are a new resident, you will hold on to their photo ID and you will be giving that to your coordinator or your intake volunteer. So once they go through this process of asking their questions and moving on to actually logging in, they will be directed over to search. At the check-in, when you do have a new resident, you will also be asking them if they have a car. If they do have a car on site, there is a login registration book for cars that you're going to take the make and model, tag number of the car, and the resident's name. So this will go on between 7 and 8 o'clock. On Sundays, our check-in time is at 3 o'clock. So from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock, you will be checking in residents. It does tend to get very busy at the front desk. The main thing is just to do things one at a time so that you don't feel like you're overwhelmed. It can get very busy, which is why we do recommend 2 volunteers. Between checking in the residents, the phone will be ringing. You want to make sure that you are only answering the shelter line, which is 733-9185, or the door box, which is down here. Again, to open the door between 7 and 8 through the Monday through Saturday, or 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Sunday, you push the door button, push the button here, pick up the phone and hang it up, and that will automatically open up the door. After 8 o'clock, residents are available to come up and check mail. The mail is alphabetically in the 2 drawers here. We do ask that they come up after 8 o'clock. If a resident should come up before 8 o'clock, please direct them to come up after 8 o'clock, because, as I said, it can get very hectic at the front desk. Also at that time, you might have volunteers that are coming up looking for the restroom key. It is in the first drawer here. You may also have residents coming up looking for the trash key, and that is on the big lanyard here, so they can see that. On the shelter line, you only want to answer by saying hello. You do not recognize that it is the Reach Cold Weather Shelter. You do not confirm or deny that a resident is staying here. If you're unsure of what to do, please contact your weekly coordinator or the shelter staff. The only time that you would answer any other line would be if it is the Washington County Sheriff's Department, Hagerstown Police Department, the Maryland State Police, Meritus Medical Center, Chambersburg Hospital, or any medical facility, as it could be one of our residents calling the shelter with information. Again, after 8 o'clock, residents can come and get your mail, and then for some housekeeping, we do have our HMIS book, which is the Homeless Management Information System. We do keep this for tracking information and statistics. Each resident will have a sheet that is in the book alphabetically with their name by last name. So you do want to, at the end of your time at 8 o'clock, pull the sheets based on your sign-in sheet. So you can go down the sign-in sheet, find the resident's particular page, find the day of the week that you're on, and go over to the month, and you'll put a check mark. If you have a new resident, until their paperwork is completed, you will not have this HMIS sheet, possibly until the end of the evening. And that binder goes over here. There's also a red binder that you might want to familiarize yourself with for BARD residents. The shelter staff that is on duty is also very familiar with this. It's always a good idea to kind of look through it. We also have a pass-along book that you can fill in joys or concerns for your time with us at the shelter. That is also over here. You can make little notes and document some good things that happen or some things that you might have some concerns with. So we're going to do a live demonstration of what you might experience when you were working at the front desk at the Reach Cold Weather Shelter. You will see on our camera that we do have some residents outside waiting to get in, and it's going to be 7 o'clock, so we are going to buzz them in. So during the shelter season, you may have as many as 20 or 25 residents standing in line at one time.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
How you doing today, Phil?
Hey, great, great. Hi, Jake. How are you?
Hello.
Hi there. Do you have your photo ID?
Do.
Mark, do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol?
I do not.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do.
Can you please make sure that it is
Absolutely.
on vibrate or turned off? Thank you so much. Hi there. Do you have your photo ID?
Mark, do you need a wake-up call?
I do not.
Hold on 1 minute.
Steve, do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol?
And are you a new resident here tonight?
I am not.
Thank you so much. So what we'll do is we will hold on to this until tomorrow morning and you can get it to the overnight
Okay.
staff.
Okay.
And do you have a cell phone?
So,
You could turn that off or turn it silent, please. So since Steve did turn in a knife, this is what
hold on,
I'm going
Steve.
to
Come on back.
go to the bottom drawer
Are you a new resident here
and
tonight?
get our envelope and put his name on it. And it will be secured down here.
Do you need a wake-up call?
Yes, please.
What time?
8 o'clock.
All right.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight? Good, good, good. Come on over and they can sign you guys
Good
in.
evening.
Hey,
How are
hey,
you,
how
sir?
are you? How are you?
Do you
Come
have
on
your photo
in.
ID?
Come on in.
Thank you. It's cold out there.
And your name? John, do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol? And do you have a cell phone?
I do, yes.
Could you please make sure that it is on silent or turned off? And Tracy, this is John. He does not have a photo ID with him.
John, are you a new resident here tonight?
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Do you have your photo ID?
You could come
Yes, I
during the
do.
day to get a photo ID. We're gonna fill out some intake paperwork on
Yes,
you
I
in a
do.
little while, and your coordinator will come and find you, okay? What was your last name again?
All righty. Thank you so much, Daniel. Do you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol?
Do
No,
you need a
ma'am.
wake-up call?
And do you have a cell phone?
Yes, I do.
Could you please make sure that it is on silent or turned off,
Okay,
please?
we can proceed on the search.
All right, and if you could please move down, Ms. Tracy will check you in.
Thank
you. Certainly. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Dan, do you need a wake-up call?
Yes, I do.
What time?
I need it 7:30, please.
Okay. Well, you'll probably be woken up before that, so don't worry about that, okay?
That's fine.
And are you a new resident here tonight?
Yes, I am.
Your coordinator will come and get you in a little while. I'm gonna hold on to your ID. We're gonna fill out some intake paperwork for you, okay?
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Welcome to the shelter, and you can proceed to search.
Thank you very much.
So to review the cold weather shelter sign-in log for the residents, I want to reference that we do have columns. There is a wake-up call, so the volunteer will be asking if the resident needs a wake-up. There is also a clock-in time, so you will be referencing the official clock for this time. Even the clean team, if they come in before 7 p.m. or before 3 p.m. on Sunday, you will put what time they are coming in. You will be indicating each resident as they come in what time it is in this column. If you have a long line of residents at 7 o'clock, you can leave some space here and maybe do increments of 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And if you have a large gap of time between residents, then you want to pick up with the time they come in by referencing the official clock. And thank you again for your interest in the cold weather shelter, and we look forward to seeing you through the season.